It's pretty wild to think that a simple fishing trip could actually explain something massive about our entire world. Well, today we're going to unpack a short story called The Parable of the Net. And trust me, it holds a surprisingly big message.
So, yeah, it all kicks off with something you totally see on a fishing boat, a big ol' net. But this story isn't really just about catching fish. It's about what gets caught in that net, and more importantly, what happens to it afterwards.
Okay, so let's jump right into the story itself. It paints this picture of a giant net being thrown into the sea, and it just scoops up everything in its path, every kind of fish. Then, once it's totally full, the fishermen drag it to the shore and start this really important job of sorting everything out. All right, let's break that down into simple steps. First, the net goes into the water. And notice, it doesn't pick and choose, it just gathers up absolutely everything. Then it gets pulled onto the shore. And this right here, this is the crucial part. The fishermen sit down and carefully, one by one, separate the good fish from the bad fish.
So, that's a pretty simple picture, right? A net, some fish, some sorting. But here's the thing about parables. They're stories with a hidden meaning. So what's the real message behind this whole fishing trip? Okay, so here's the first big piece of the puzzle. The net? It's not just a net. It represents the gospel, this big message of hope and truth that's meant for every single person. Think of it being cast super wide, trying to reach everyone, everywhere.
And what about the sea? Well, that's basically our world. And the fish? Yep, that's all of us. All the different people living in the world who hear this message. The net just gathers everyone who comes in contact with it.
So let's put it all together real quick. The net is the message. The sea is the world. And the fish, well, that's all of us people, a mix of good and bad, all gathered together for the time being. It's a pretty powerful picture when you think about it.
Okay, so everyone's been gathered in the net. But hold on, the story is far from over. Now we get to that moment on the shore, the sorting. What could that possibly mean? So get this. The story says that pulling the net to shore, that's a symbol for the end of the world. This is when a final separation takes place. And it's not fishermen doing the sorting anymore. It's angels who separate those who have chosen a good path from those who've chosen a bad one. This little timeline makes it super easy to understand. See, right now, the story says we're in that first phase, the gathering phase. The net is out, the message is spreading, but the key idea here is that the final sorting only happens after that mission is all done. It comes at the very, very end.
And all of this leads to probably the biggest, most important lesson in the whole story. If there's a final separation, what's it based on? It's not about what job you have, how much money's in your bank account, or what you look like. It's about something way deeper.
And this right here, this quote just hits the nail on the head. It sums up the whole point perfectly. It is character, not position, which decides man's destiny. In other words, what really matters in the end is who we truly are on the inside. Let's make this crystal clear, because it's a huge deal. Position is all that stuff on the outside, what you look like, how popular you are, the things you own. But character, that's who you are on the inside. Your honesty, your kindness, the little choices you make every single day when you think nobody's watching, that's what this whole story is pointing to. And what the story is really trying to tell us is that even though we're all mixed together in this giant net right now, good and bad side by side, our true character is never a secret. God sees our heart, and in the end, that's what's going to matter. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. All this talk of sorting and separation, it sounds a little intense, right? But actually, the ultimate message of this whole parable is one of incredible hope. It's actually really empowering. And this idea right here is at the very heart of it all. This isn't about trying to condemn anybody. It's an invitation. It shows that the real desire is for everyone to choose life, to turn towards what is good. All right, let's wrap this all up into the big ideas you got to remember. First, God's message, the net, goes out to everyone, no exceptions. Second, the time we're living in right now is our time to choose. He wants everyone to accept this amazing gift of life. And finally, and maybe most importantly, the choices we make every day are what build the character that defines who we are. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. The net is out there, and it's catching all of us. The time for the big sorting, that hasn't happened yet.
So the real question isn't whether or not you're in the net. We all are. The question is, what choices will you make today that are going to define your character?